Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we shall be going on a tour, but not just any tour. This tour is unlike no other, as I'll be taking you through the beautiful roads of Britain, where each square mile of land is different from any other. And here in Britain, we've got plenty of drag strips, dirt races, road sprints and circuits, and finally, illegal street races in the majestic city of Edinburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy as I bring to you the tour that isn't grand. I guess we'll call it the Grandiose Tour. When you think about Britain, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Many would think of London and the Queen. Or perhaps you recognise Britain for being the only place in the world where you can find the exotic roadmen in their natural habitats. Well, if you've actually seen a car before, you'll be thinking of the vintage Jaguars or the absolutely luxurious Bentleys. But probably more likely, you'll be thinking of the reliable and affordable Vauxhall cars that you see on every road in England. And, don't take me too seriously, if you're a girl who hasn't used plastic surgery to become rich off your own body, you'll probably own or drive a Mini in your lifetime. And on that topic of who owns which car, in Britain there's mainly three kinds of cars that people will buy for the first car. One of them being an aforementioned Vauxhall, another being a mighty Volkswagen, and finally the manufacturer that nobody seems to care about but still buys a car from anyway, you guessed it, the Peugeot. However, if you've recently been around in the streets of Britain, you've probably come across this special car many times. There's been a surge of appearances for this underrated dark horse, a surge that you cannot miss. And believe me when I say that this particular car has taken the world by storm. But honestly, the word storm is a complete understatement. It'd be more accurate to say that this graceful work of art has soared across the skies to truly become the hottest hatch. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the first ever vehicle to go on the Grandiose Tour, the Renault Clio. So I've been going on and on about how this car is the hottest hatch. However, for many years the Clio was pretty underwhelming. The first Clio was introduced in 1990 and was to be a replacement to the amazing Renault 5, while keeping some of the same conventions like the suspension and the floor pan. And the engine range available at launch was only 1.2 and 1.4 litre engines. Although this car had 3 phases and more offsprings like the 16S that could go 130 miles per hour, I think it's fair to say that this car truly got popularity in 1993. Meet the Clio Williams, a car that was originally limited to only 3,800, but they sold out so quickly that Renault ended up building a whopping 1,600 more. But it didn't end there, as due to high demand, the Williams 2 and 3 were built, and eventually more than 12,000 cars came to fruition. With a 2-litre engine that had 16 valves and 4 cylinders, it could reach a maximum RPM of 6,100 while having an impressive 145 brake horsepower. At stock, this beauty could go from 0 to 60 in just 7.7 seconds and also reach 100 miles per hour in a respectable 20.8 seconds, and then it maxes out at around 135 miles per hour. While these stats sound like nothing amazing, remember that this car wasn't designed to break barriers and show us a whole new world and all that other bollocks about being the fastest car in the world, but to simply let the driver have fun. Now I know what you're thinking, this sounds like absolute wank. But did you know that regardless of the era, the Clio Williams has consistently been rated by respected motoring journalists as one of the very best hot hatches ever made, earning a 3rd place in EVA's 2006 magazine and 6th place in EVA's 2004 Car of the Decade issue. One aspect that this Clio was especially popular for was during rallies, as the racing version had racing suspension and a more free-flowing exhaust. But soon it was time for the Clio Williams to take a bow, with its final evolution being the Clio Williams Maxi in 1996. Now I could go on and on about the evolution of the Clio, however there really was nothing that had the same hype that the Williams had. That is, until this beast popped up. Meet the Renault Clio Rs 200 EDC, a car that held a 1.6 litre engine with 16 valves and 4 cylinders with 200 brake horsepower at stock. As is in the name, the gearbox type it uses is an EDC with 6 gears, which helps the car go a very nice 140 mph. It goes from 0 to 60 in just 6.5 seconds, an entire second over the Williams, and then goes from 0 to 100 in just 16.7 seconds. Now keep in mind that this is at stock. Now with the power of simulation, let me show you the full potential of this absolute beast. Now then, prepare to hear these stats, as this will literally sound like an entirely different car. We've gone from 200 horsepower to a whopping 668 horsepower, absolutely unbelievable. And if you thought that was amazing, just listen to these acceleration times. It goes from 0 to 60 in just 2.4 seconds. An absolutely astonishing time that would have you be thinking that this is a supercar. Let's not forget that it also goes 0 to 100 in just 5 bloody seconds, and eventually the car tops out at around 200 mph. This is just incredible. You guys remember that the Williams as stock had a 0 to 60 time of 7.7 and a 0 to 100 time of 20 seconds. Well, if you do the math, from 1993 to 2013, which is around 20 years, they've managed to allow the Clio to cut down the 0 to 60 time by a staggering 5.3 seconds. And get ready for this, because this just blew me away. The 0 to 100 time had been cut down by an extremely ridiculous 15.8 seconds. Jesus Christ, that is spectacular. We're not talking about supercars or hypercars here, folks. We're talking about hatches. And the Clio could give some supercars a run for their money, I'll tell you what, bloody hell. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that it's time we're gonna have to put this car to the test at the infamous Waterhead Sprint. Ladies and gentlemen, we are off, and just look at how the Clio just takes off, and just hear the noise that it makes. It really is quite a lovely noise to hear. If you hear that down the freeway, chances are you'll be thinking that that's a hypercar or a supercar. But ladies and gentlemen, it is just a Renault Clio. And with this Clio, it really is just at the top end of the hot hatches. Look at how it turns, the way it accelerates. It is just an all-around nice car to drive. And with the older version of the Clio, I can see why people would want it as a first car. It's not too imposing, it's simple to drive. What else do you want from a car? And here we have a straight, and just notice how the car just doesn't take as quick as you'd expect to get to top speed. It's going around 180 at this point, but the top speed of the Clio is around 200 mph. So it's not reaching that, however, it just takes the turns at constant speed. Notice how we're keeping up at our average speed of around 150, 160, even 170, and we can take the turns like it's absolutely nothing. That's the beauty about this car. The handling really is something to just be in awe of. I know for the handling could just be so smooth on a car like this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are nearing the end of this sprint, and just wait, because that turning that I was talking about really does play a part in this victory. Just take a look at how we bypass this VS3 racing. And there you have it, the Clio on a sprint truly is magnificent, and overall it's just satisfying to see how this car handles. However, as we mentioned before, the Clios were most well known for their performance in rallies. So I thought it'd actually be interesting to see what kind of time a fully tuned out Williams from 1993 with the same 668 horsepower could get in a dirt track, and then compare it to the RS to see if 20 years really had a big impact. And of course, a slight disclaimer, this wouldn't be possible in real life, so this is all hypothetical, but god is it fun to watch. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of Dirt Bike LB, where there's actually no bike and LB has no meaning whatsoever. And we're off, and this Williams sounds amazing. 1993, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus. But I can tell you something, and this car is really rough. It was just bare bones. You don't have much to work with other than your own skill, ladies and gentlemen. But you can pull off some really nice drifts with this car. The grip on the tires is very nice. But it is pretty hard to get a hold of, as you can see. But as the race develops, you will get used to this car. And I think I'm already getting the feel. It's been, what, 40 seconds? I'm already getting a feel for this car. Just you all wait. I'll be taking these corners like a madman in no time.
Yeah, they look to see you at your worst. Stick the knife in where it hurts. Come all, I know my worth. I'm cashing in for that purse. I spent years in that dirt. Now I'm taking chances, I'm building my own church. They can't take away what you've been going through for years. But I'm back in this bitch, overcoming these fears. No hip hooray, I don't hear no cheers. That's fine, I got 6 figures and I made it all with my peers. Never took no for an answer, I got the game at ransom. Been for the industry for years, don't call me Branson. I do it differently, I'm a different breed. Look at what I have achieved, I'm in the whole of the league. I got many enemies, I do this independent so I can buy a bigger pendant. Watch my pendant, when I invent, I turn words into cash flow. I'm the leader of the pack, I'm in cash roll. Been wishing for a 6 with a dice roll. Took so many risks in this life, yo. Not all of them paid off, but I'm still here. No days off till my kid's a millionaire. Yeah, I roll the dice, see where life takes me. I've been feeling down on these nights lately, but I know that I got so much to give. Never forget, but I can learn to forgive.
So if the Williams are still being improved upon to this day, the only way you could describe it would be by comparing it to an ice skater who hasn't broken their legs. You can only feel delighted for them, and it's definitely not wrong to say that I'm absolutely delighted with how the Williams performed. But now let's see how the RS performs. And we're off, ladies and gentlemen. This Clio sounds absolutely amazing, as we already know from the Sprint, but the way this takes off, it makes you feel more at home than the Williams. Now let's remember that the Williams was purely designed for rallying and being in those rally races, while the Clio you can take out for a driver as well and just go anywhere with it. What this Clio allows the driver to do is just to go on any surface at any time. And while the Williams could do that, it's not like it's all around like the Clio. The Clio really is just an all around absolute machine. However, I will say that on the dirt it is going to perform a bit worse than the Williams. It felt much more, let's say, incomplete on the turns. But it all does depend on the driver's skill, and once you get used to it, just like getting used to the Williams, you find it absolutely easy and it's an absolute breeze. Driving this right now makes me feel like I can do anything I want whenever I want. And then I go on a tangent about how good the Clio is, but I'm sure you've already heard enough, so I'll cut that transmission short.
For real, yeah. All of these faces I got in my pocket, they watching, they getting familiar. I'm trying to get all the profits deposited right back into my familiar. Talking familia. How I be antisocial but making racks on social media. Yeah, I took a chance on this shit and got large from killing every medium. Yeah, I don't use Twitter no more, I be trapping out of my Expedia. Yeah, had to roll the dice and now I'm over all the lights. And now they always trying to top it, I've been over their advice. Now they know where I've been going, it's been over to the right. And if you really want to look, I'll be the only one in sight. Facts, stuck to the rest of my plan. I ain't no regular man, I got a hell of a brand. I'm getting up in the sky, but they leaving their head in the sand.
Yeah, I roll the dice, see where life takes me. I've been feeling down on these nights.
Well, I think I really did say it all there. The RS is nothing short of amazing. It holds its own very nicely on the dirt, but absolutely excels on the asphalt. And as we mentioned before, the Williams had a spotlight purely in rally races, while the RS has a spotlight absolutely everywhere. Although there is a saying, wherever there is light, there is a shadow that lurks. And recently, it seems that the shadow is expanding, to the point where in the near future, that light might be swallowed whole. In a less figurative way, I guess you could say that this car blasts through the skies to become one of the most recognizable vehicles in the world of hatches. I present to you the 2014 Volkswagen Golf R. So this beast, when it came out back in 2014, was such a massive improvement over the GTI. Unless you're a Russian who thinks that the Lada is the only car that matters, anyone can tell that just by hearing this single stat, this behemoth has limitless potential. It has the same 2-litre turbo engine as the GTI, but prepare yourselves for this: 296 brake horsepower. That's nearly an entire 80 horsepower more than the GTI, and is also the reason why the car is 4-wheel drive. Now, if you've ever driven a GTI, which is probably a yes if you're 18 and Polish, the grip on that thing, even though it's front-wheel drive, is impressive. With the R, you best believe that Salman Khan will finally change his hairstyle before you lose any kind of traction. Now that I've introduced the Golf, it's time to see which car comes out on top. We'll be taking to the streets of Edinburgh, where we'll put these cars to the test on the Princess Street Racing Circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of One on One, where Tio and Wayne won't show you a thing or two.
Bow down to me, self-doubt has been drowning me. I've been doubting me, been blind but now I see. Cause I can't let the world miss out on me. Nah, too special, too hungry for more. Been loyal, been ready for war. Been patient, been waiting before. Now it's time for my f***ing applause. Ooh, am I showing what I'm made of? Just quit the day job, don't need a label. I'm already major, getting that paper, starting to make it. Special occasion, drinking it straight, no chaser. Different cut, I'm a different breed. Different cloth, make a different sleeve. You're you and I'm me, that's the main difference between make-believe. Different levels, we on different floors. World tours on my vision boards. Taking calls, but not taking yours. Make a couple bags when I'm feeling bored.
Our downtime is over. Yeah, we taking over. Kill it. Long live my soldiers.
The results are in, folks, and these numbers are really close. Jesus, I didn't expect this to be as close as it is. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been teasing you long enough. Just like how Boris Johnson teased the Queen with the tea that directly came from the pet pig they have at Eton. Anyways, the times. The 2014 Volkswagen Golf R set a time of 1 minute and 56.129 seconds, with the best lap time being 55.284 seconds. Now that doesn't mean anything since it's the only time up there, but now it will mean a lot more as I announce the next time. The 2013 Renault Clio EDC 200 set a time of 1 minute 54.521, 2 seconds apart from each other. Ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty close. But now there's a little plot twist. The best lap time that the Clio got was actually 55.659, just 0.38 seconds away from the Golf. So what does this mean? This means that even if it's by a small amount, the Clio consistently performs at high standards, being able to maintain its speed throughout the course just a tiny bit more efficiently than the Golf R. I think that what really helped out the Clio was the fact that it could just come out of those turns and corners really rapidly with the acceleration. And when it was time to brake, the Clio just felt a lot more comfortable to drive. Although it made me a bit too comfortable sometimes, it still came out on top, and so the Clio proves itself superior over the Golf. Now don't get me wrong, the Golf is an incredible car and you can't help but just love every model that comes out. Let's keep in mind that the times were very close, and so the Golf earns itself major respect, and it really does deserve the attention that it's been reeling in. But now it's time for the Clio to go up against a real challenge. We've had a dirt race, we've had a sprint, we've had a circuit scheduled for nighttime so that it looked like an illegal street race. But what we haven't had yet is a drag race. Now I could probably choose any supercar or hypercar to take on the Clio in the drag race, but that's just boring. Let me bring out something that I myself have modified and tuned to the max. And if you know me, you will know that I'll never do things the traditional way unless I really have to. Keep your eyes peeled as I present this to you. Here we have the Peel P50. So you might be thinking, What in the absolute Christ did I just witness? Well, what you've just seen is the POP50, a 3-wood microcar from 1962 that was quite literally advertised as capable of seating one adult and a bloody shopping bag. In all honesty, it didn't even fit an adult. If we use the money we have today, it retailed for around £6,600 or $8,500. Surprisingly, there were electric models of this thing with an electric moped motor. And yes, you heard me, a moped motor. And that's the reason why the top speed is around 30 miles per hour. This thing is interesting to say the least, and Guinness could back me up with that, as this thing is literally known as the smallest production car in the world. So that's the PO and its history in the real life. But in this simulation, the PO is a completely different beast. We've gone from a measly 4.2 horsepower to an absolutely astronomical 292 horsepower. Yep, you heard me right, nearly 300 horsepower. That's 4 less than the Golf R and nearly 100 more than the Clio Rs. To top it all off, this beauty can go from 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds and tops out at 142 miles per hour in this simulation. There is no way that this thing can ever be real. The people at Pure would be charged with assisted suicide, which is illegal in Britain, may I remind you. You've all been watching as I've been going on about this. Just look at how unstable this thing is. It's like a nuclear reactor. The only difference is that when this explodes, it will only kill one person because it's only got enough space for one adult and one shopping bag. Now then, as you may have figured out, statistically this is slower than our fully tuned Clio, since the Clio only takes 2.4 seconds to go to 60, and it tops out 200 miles per hour compared to 140. Despite this, all I'm going to say is make sure your jaw doesn't actually fall off, just like how everyone forgets about Blade Brown a day after he releases a tune. I'm not going to say anymore, so let's see who prevails in this drag race. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of Take Me Back to London, where you're not listening to Ed Sheeran, but instead the P50's engine as you head towards impending death. And there you have it, the P50 destroys the Clio with a time of 8.998 seconds, an easy 0.54 seconds away from the Clio. So what did we learn today? Well, we've learned that the Clio is slower than a car with one less wheel that could only fit an adult who's smaller than a 2-year-old, and also a shopping bag. We've also learned that the Clio is not that much better than a Golf. And that's pretty much it. And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end the first episode of the Grandiose Tour. I thank you all for watching, and make sure you turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next episode. I hope you've all thoroughly enjoyed something that I've never really done before, and I shall see you all again very soon.